Lexie, whether it's diving on the floor, tipping balls out for rebounds, all of the little things that you do to impact this game. How do you describe the desire in you right now?
I mean, we want to win. We want to keep playing. We want another game in Vegas, so that's what we're fighting for. We don't want our season to end.
Welcome back to Basketball Strike. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell, because this story is about to get intense. The Indiana Fever, playing without 6 key players including their superstar Caitlin Clark, just handed the Las Vegas Aces a brutal postseason wake-up call. Against all odds, this battered team forced the reigning champions to face a reality they weren't prepared for. And at the center of it all was Lexie Hull, who didn't just show up on the scoreboard, she made sure Aliyah Wilson and the Aces felt the sting in every possible way. While Aliyah Boston clamped down on Wilson defensively, locking her into a grind all night long, Kelsey Mitchell poured in buckets like a seasoned assassin. Together, they transformed a team written off by analysts into warriors refusing to surrender. This wasn't supposed to happen. Nobody outside Indiana's loyal fan base thought this depleted roster could stand toe-to-toe with the two-time defending champ. But here they are, dragging Vegas into a winner-take-all Game 5 with the WNBA Finals on the line. And the best part? Hull didn't stop with her effort on the floor. She dismantled Wilson's postgame meltdown, calling out her tantrum and humiliating the so-called MVP in front of the basketball world. When asked what it would take to finish strong, Hull summed it up perfectly. Keep Vegas off the free throw line, knock down shots, and stick to the scouting report. For her, it wasn't about excuses, it was about execution, and for 40 minutes, that mindset carried the Fever. But think about this. What happens when the whole basketball world writes you off? ESPN experts dismissed them without hesitation. The odds makers labeled the series a mismatch. The Aces laughed at the very idea of being challenged. Yet Indiana, bruised, short-handed, and missing Clark, refused to follow the script. This wasn't just another playoff game. For the Fever, this was survival. And they treated every possession with the urgency of a team hanging on by a thread. Head coach Stephanie White knew the stakes, reminding everyone that it was desperation, but not reckless desperation. It was urgency. It was experience. This team had been in tough spots before, and each time, they dug deep and left everything on the court. The setup couldn't have been more lopsided. A 6th seed dragging a patchwork roster into battle against the league's most star-studded powerhouse. Vegas strutted into Gainbridge Fieldhouse expecting to slam the door shut. Instead, they walked straight into a storm. By the final buzzer, the narrative was flipped and Indiana delivered one of the gutsiest postseason wins in franchise history. Even the commentators couldn't ignore what was happening. The Fever hadn't lost back-to-back postseason games at home, and history seemed to be repeating itself. From the red leather jacket superstition of Coach White to the pure desperation that fueled every possession, the Fever carried an energy that Vegas couldn't match. And the adversity they faced went far beyond just injuries. A key veteran had bailed mid-season for Phoenix, leaving the locker room thinner than ever. Officiating had been lopsided for weeks, stacking the odds against them. Yet Indiana fought through it all. Game 4 marked their third elimination battle of the playoffs, and just like the first two, they answered back with a statement win. Many thought the Fever were finished after their previous loss. They looked tired, beat down, and out of gas. But somehow, they stormed the court in their Stranger Things jerseys, a look that now feels like their good luck charm, and outworked the Aces. Wilson still put up 31 points, playing much sharper than in Game 3, but even her heroics weren't enough. Indiana's collective fight carried them to victory and forced a decisive Game 5. Execution was the lifeblood of their win. They protected possessions, battled for rebounds, and rotated with precision on defense. Every Aces mistake turned into fuel for Indiana's fire. By halftime, the swagger that usually defined Vegas had vanished, replaced by frustration. And then came the defining moment. Becky Hammon called a timeout she didn't have. The technical foul that followed flipped momentum entirely. Suddenly, Vegas wasn't in control, Indiana was. Now the question lingers. How can anyone bet against the Fever? They've used hardship contracts, cycled through 18 different players this season, and still managed to claw their way to the brink of the finals. Against every prediction, they might just pull it off. And no matter how wild it sounds, stranger things have happened. But make no mistake, this wasn't luck. It wasn't fluky. It was toughness, composure, and unshakable belief. Boston and Mitchell were the stars of the night, while Wilson chose to sulk in the postgame, complaining about officiating. She went as far as claiming Boston had a special whistle because she drew 13 free throws. But let's not forget the truth. Throughout the first 3 games, it was Vegas who benefited from questionable calls. Aces players were practically spoon-fed whistles, while Fever stars like Boston and Mitchell battled against phantom fouls. The hypocrisy was staggering. When the tables finally turned, when Indiana earned their way to the stripe by attacking the rim, suddenly the Aces and their coach were crying foul. Hammond sat at the post-game podium with nothing but frustration to offer, snapping, "They shot 34 free throws, and we shot 11. Next question. But that wasn't analysis. That wasn't leadership. It was irritation, pure and simple, because for once, Vegas didn't have the refs in their back pocket. The reality is this. Indiana's trips to the line weren't gift. They were earned. Boston sealed deep in the paint. Mitchell and Sims drove fearlessly. They forced contact and demanded respect. Meanwhile, Vegas settled for jumpers, watching their rhythm evaporate. If you don't attack, you don't get whistles. It's that simple. Wilson's sarcastic remarks about Boston's whistle only highlighted her frustration. Because the truth? Wilson had been the queen of favorable whistles all series long, until now. And through it all, Boston dominated both ends of the floor. She put up 24 points, grabbed 14 rebounds, dished 5 assists, and still managed to smother Wilson every time she touched the ball. Yes, Wilson scored 31, but each bucket was earned the hard way. Nothing came easy. Boston's two-way dominance drew comparisons to the Tamika Catchings era, a presence Indiana hasn't felt in years. Mitchell's performance was equally poetic. After carrying this team through dark seasons, she finally stood at center court, dropping 25 points while the Gainbridge crowd showered her with MVP chant. For a player once overlooked, this was vindication. Hull, battling back pain after being slammed by Wilson earlier in the series, still gave everything. She played suffocating defense on Jackie Young, collected 7 rebounds, swiped 4 steals, and embodied toughness. Her grit was contagious. And while Boston, Mitchell, and Hull shined, Odyssey Sims delivered the night's redemption arc. After going 0-4-7 in Game 3, she roared back with 18 points on 6 of 9 shooting, slicing apart Vegas's defense. Shea Petty added veteran calm, steadying possessions when things threatened to spiral. Piece by piece, this patched-up roster dismantled every doubt. Now the season comes down to one final battle. Game 5. Winner to the finals, loser going home. Indiana sits one step away from its first finals in a decade. For context, the last time the Fever reached this stage, Caitlin Clark was in high school, Aliyah Boston hadn't yet broken out, and Mitchell was only beginning her journey. Today, they carry the franchise's future on their shoulders. Vegas won't go quietly. Wilson just became the youngest player to hit 1,000 career playoff points, and she'll come out swinging in Game 5. Becky Hammond's strategy will be clear. Feed Wilson until something cracks. But Indiana already has the blueprint. Boston's paint dominance, Mitchell's scoring, Sims slashing, and Hull's relentless defense. That's what got them here, and that's what can send them further. Coach White reminded her players of their identity. Urgency, resilience, and the "we over me" mantra that has carried them all season. Injuries, adversity, and doubt didn't break them. They made them stronger. And whether or not Indiana advances, they've already sent a message. This isn't the same old Fever. This is a team that thrives under pressure, feeds on being counted out, and just changed the balance of power in the league. If you're fired up for the Fever, Then comment, fired up below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a moment. Click the video on your screen now, and we'll see you in the next one.